Hey there, chemists. How you doing today? Today we're going to talk a little bit about mixtures. I know we've already covered this, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper, and then we're going to talk about how can we separate those mixtures. Let's dive right in. Okay. So first and foremost, I actually want to just go through what are some of the things that we already know about mixtures, right? We've learned about them in class so far. So what do we know? Well, we know that mixtures have two or more. So they are made of two or more substances, okay? So those substances can be elements, they can be compounds, either or, it doesn't matter, okay? But we know that we have to have two or more or else it would just be a pure substance, okay? We know I guess we could then say it is not a pure substance, okay? Not a pure substance, okay? And I really want to think about how does it combine together? So when I take things and I mix them together, does that cause a chemical reaction? And the answer is no, right? There is no chemical reaction. And so how then is it combining? We use the term it's physically combined, okay? So we're physically combining something. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we have our mixtures. They're physically combined with two or more substances and it is not a pure substance because it's mixture. Let's see what else can vary. And here's a really good example, okay, because we haven't talked about this quite yet. But let's say we were going to have one of my favorite mixtures that exists out there, which is a salad, okay? So I want to have a salad for lunch, and my husband wants to have a salad for lunch. But my husband doesn't love cucumbers, but I love cucumbers. So do we each have to have the same amount of cucumbers in our salad? And the answer is no. And so what's really nice about mixtures too, or really cool about them, is that the ratio of your substances can vary. Okay, so our ratios can vary. Okay. Awesome. So this is kind of what we've covered thus far about mixtures, but I want to go ahead and just throw our definition of mixture back up here. Because we're going to dig a little bit deeper, like I already mentioned, into specific types of mixtures. So again, a mixture by definition, okay, is going to be a physical combination of two or more substances in which ratios vary. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to take a look at is the different types of mixtures and how they can be separated. Before we talk about separation, though, I think it's important to distinguish that there are two different types of mixtures. And you've probably heard these terms before in your previous science classes, right? But we have homogeneous mixtures and we have heterogeneous mixtures. So what's the difference between those? Well, let's start with a homogeneous mixture. Okay, and let's start with an example of a homogeneous mixture, okay? An example of a homogeneous mixture that maybe you would all be familiar with is going to be something like Kool-Aid, okay? That delicious sweet beverage, okay? Now, what makes Kool-Aid homogeneous? Well, when you take a look at a sample of Kool-Aid, right, that sample, you cannot see different pieces of the mixture. You can't see the Kool-Aid particles and you can't see the water. You just see one colored liquid, okay? So a homogeneous mixture, by definition, is going to be a mixture in which particles are evenly distributed and it looks the same throughout. Okay, perfect. And you can also kind of think of the word uniform here for homogeneous, okay? So it's uniform throughout. Okay, now let's take a look at what it means to be a heterogeneous mixture, or maybe you say heterogeneous, potato, okay? So heterogeneous Okay, and so an example of a heterogeneous mixture or heterogeneous mixture would be a salad. Okay, and so what makes that heterogeneous or heterogeneous? And the idea here is that see the very different particles throughout, right? If I look at my salad for lunch, I can see cucumbers, I can see tomatoes, lettuce, cheese, walnuts, all the good stuff. Okay, and so I can see the different pieces, and the particles do not have to be evenly distributed throughout, right? So I always eat my salad and I always find at the bottom that all of the delicious, most delicious anyways, like the walnuts and the cheese fall to the bottom of the salad. Okay, so a heterogeneous mixture or heterogeneous mixture is a mixture in which particles are not evenly distributed. Okay, and the mixture does not look the same throughout. You can see the very distinctive pieces. Okay, perfect. So now that we have our classifications of the two different types of mixtures, homogeneous and heterogeneous, let's take a look at some examples of mixtures and see if we can classify them as homogeneous or heterogeneous. Okay, so our first mixture that I want to take a look at is sand and iron. So I'm going to get really close to the camera and see if you can tell the difference. Okay, do you think that this is homogeneous or heterogeneous? Well, if you look really closely, okay, we can see the different iron pieces in the sand. So this would be a heterogeneous mixture, okay? Now what's next? Our next mixture that I want to take a look at is sand and water. So again, sand and water, is that going to be homogeneous or heterogeneous? Okay, well, we can definitely see the sand, it sinks to the very bottom, so therefore that's going to be heterogeneous, heterogeneous. Okay, the next mixture that we have here is salt and water, salt and water. Okay, and you can tell from looking at that blends really nicely. I can't see the different components. So salt and water is going to be homogeneous. Okay, right? We can't see the salt in this water. And the last one I want to look at is alcohol and water. So all I did was take rubbing alcohol from my home and dissolve it in water, and we cannot see the difference. So for our alcohol and water, okay, it is also homogeneous. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about all of the different ways that we can separate these mixtures, right? How could I separate the different components? So how could I take that alcohol and remove it from the water? Okay, and so there's a few different types of separation techniques that we have to talk about. Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about with you today is magnetism. Okay, magnetism. So in magnetism, obviously this can only be used, okay, to separate something that has magnetic properties. So magnets can be used to separate components with magnetic properties. And just note, everybody, that not all metals are magnetic, okay? So a good example of something that is magnetic is iron. All right, so our next separation technique that I want to take a moment to talk about is decanting, okay? Decanting. So decanting is not particularly useful. I actually really primarily use it in the kitchen when I'm baking, especially with like oil and water, because decanting is used to pour off two liquids, or as you can see from the image, a liquid and a solid, okay, that don't mix, or that are what we say immiscible, right? They do not mix, immiscible. Okay, awesome. Let's move on to our next type of separation technique, Okay, and the next one that I want to talk to you about today is going to be, okay, filtration. Okay, now your parents probably use filters at home. I know I use one every morning for coffee. So filtration is probably one of the most common techniques used for separation in chemistry. Okay, and it's used to separate, okay, a solid from a liquid. Okay, and you might say to yourself, well, why this instead of decanting? Well, this actually does a better job. You're 100% going to be able to pour that in because the filter paper traps the particles based on particle size. Okay, so we also sometimes say that this is separation by particle size. Okay, now I want to point out that if something is dissolved into something else, typically filtration will not work, right? Because those dissolved particles are now so small that they cannot be separated by that filter. All right, and on to our next separation technique. Okay, so the next one that I want to talk about today is evaporation. Okay, evaporation or boiling. Evaporation or boiling. Now, I want to point out that I just said for things that are dissolved, we typically don't want to use the filtration because the filter is not going to catch the dissolved particles. So then how could I get, let's say, salt back from water or sugar back from water? We're going to use evaporation or boiling to do that, okay? So evaporation or boiling to help us out with that. So that is going to sometimes also be called crystallization because you are left with a solid at the end, okay? And it's usually used to retrieve or separate a dissolved solid from a liquid, okay? Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to our next separation technique, okay? So the next separation technique, and there's only two more, okay? The next one is probably the most new technique to you in this course, and that's called distillation, okay? And even if we were to be in school right now, unfortunately, we never really get to use distillation. The apparatus for distillation is kind of expensive and has a lot of moving parts, so we don't really get to do it in class. But it is really cool, so let me kind of talk you through this quickly. Now, distillation is known as separation by boiling points. Okay, now when I say it's by boiling point, I want you to kind of keep that in mind that usually it's used to separate two liquids. Okay, you could separate a solid and a liquid using distillation, but there's other ways to already do that. So we primarily use this to separate two liquids, at least in the chem lab. Now, if you're thinking about those survival shows, sometimes they use distillation to get pure water from salt water. Now, what happens is here's our impure liquid. Okay, the impure liquid is going to be two liquids together. And as the first liquid boils, right, usually one will boil at a lower temperature. The first liquid boils out and it travels, the gas travels this direction. And in this cooling water tube that's here, what happens is the running water causes the gas to recondense and to fall into this other separate flask here. And so we call that the distillate, okay? And it's our distilled liquid. Awesome. And the last technique, really, really quickly, is something you should have covered in biology, which is chromatography, okay? And hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about chromatography later in the year, okay? I don't know why this is so gigantic, I apologize. Okay, but our chromatography, okay, is going to be separation, okay, by solubility. Okay, meaning how much can it dissolve in the water? Just chromatography, separation by solubility. All right, everybody, I'm short on time, but what I'd like you to do before class is I'd like you to really think about then all of those different mixtures that we saw. How would we separate each of those? All right, and we'll cover that right at the beginning of class. See you guys later.